Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Usually I don't get to go this quickly, so I'm very happy today. But, I just wanted to ask Mr. Johansson, you mentioned in your testimony the foreign market distortions as they relate to sugar production around the world. And as you know, I have large sugar production in my district. And when I talk to critics of the sugar program, they seem to fail to realize that weakening the program will put producers in my district and across the country at a competitive disadvantage around the world simply because of the government distortions. And would the sugar program be needed if it weren't for these government distortions around the world?
Congressman Fischbach, that's a great question. Thanks so much for asking it. And yes, I had a opportunity just to get up to your district and see some sugar beet farms this past summer. Of course, they were, under a lot of duress from the drought that was happening up there. I think it underscores the importance of the sugar program. As you mentioned, there is a great deal of foreign market subsidization of their sugar sectors. Unfortunately, that often results in overproduction in those countries, and that surplus sugar is then just dumped on the world market, driving down those prices. So, our producers are extremely efficient here in the United States. We produce, nearly 70% of the sugar domestically that we consume here, and we do that while meeting very high labor and environmental standards. It's just not the case that other foreign countries are doing the same in all cases, and certainly on a level playing field. And I know some of your colleagues have, and you have supported legislation that effectively says if other countries are willing to discontinue their oversubsidization of their sugar sectors, that we would also take a look at our programs. So with that, I would just say, yeah, our producers, both from the cane side and the beet side, are extremely efficient. But as I pointed out in my testimony, our program effectively is administered at zero cost, but we just can't compete with foreign governments subsidizing their producers to such a degree that's going on. We just saw a recent case come out of the WTO, noting the extreme support that India is providing its sugar sector, and we've seen the results of that with all of that sugar effectively dumped on the world market. Thanks a lot.
Well, and thank you. And just building on that, you mentioned, you were able to come to my district and see some of the disasters that they were facing, that the beef farmers were facing last year. And, you were the chief economist at the USDA when the WIP Plus program was put together. That rescued growers in my state as well as other states when natural disasters threatened to drive many out of business. Can you explain, maybe just expand a little bit and talk a little bit about the WIP Plus, why it is so essential for our growers and how the producers took care of the consumers then?
Yeah, of course, we would say producers would prefer to have a good harvest and market their product as opposed to relying on government programs. But in cases such as we saw with the WIP Plus program back in 2018 and 2019, we had just such a severe hit to the sugar beet industry with the freeze that went on up there, that untimely freeze that froze a lot of those beets in the ground. And we saw recently, this year, Hurricane Ida slamming into Louisiana. So I would just say that the WIP Plus program has been effective. Our producers have utilized that program when it's been there, and they've been eligible for those losses. Of course, as I noted, the 2022 freeze down in Florida is not authorized for WIP Plus at this time. But ultimately, that program, or if the committee looks towards working on the WIP program to make it maybe a standing disaster program or something like it in the next Farm Bill in a way that doesn't interfere with crop insurance. Of course, that, as everybody here on the panel has noted, is really underlying the safety net for a lot of their operations. So we would certainly be receptive to working with the committee on that. And again, I thank you for all your support, certainly in getting that program up this year, and certainly for future disasters that just fall outside of the regular crop insurance safety net sort of regime, having something like WIP Plus has been very effective for our producers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate your answers. And I would just like to thank the chair for holding this hearing today. And with that, I yield back.